So, in 1985, a 78-year-old woman in Springfield, Massachusetts, was sexually assaulted during a burglary in her home. The attacker broke in and raped her, leaving behind no semen, blood, or other physical evidence. However, a single strand of hair was found on the bedsheet. The victim described her attacker as clean-shaven with short hair. In contrast, George Parrott was only 17 at the time, had long, shaggy hair, a mustache, and a goatee beard. Despite this mismatch and a complete lack of DNA evidence, Parrott was arrested and later convicted based mainly on the analysis of that single hair found at the scene. So, getting into it. George Parrott was charged and convicted of rape and burglary. The primary evidence against him was a microscopic hair analysis conducted by FBI agent Wayne Oakes. The victim herself said Parrott looked nothing like her attacker, and no DNA or other physical evidence linked him to the scene. Nevertheless, the jury was persuaded by the FBI agent's confident and scientific-sounding testimony that the hair found on the bedsheet matched Parrott's. So, getting into the forensic-y part, microscopic hair analysis is the process of examining the physical and structural characteristics of a hair under the microscope. In forensic cases, this was historically used to try to link a suspect to evidence found at a crime scene. Analysts would look at features such as the medulla, which is the inner core of the hair, the cortex, which is the main body of the hair, and the cuticle, which is the outer layer of the hair. Analysts would compare these features between a known hair sample from a suspect and an unknown sample found at the scene. The assumption was that these features were unique enough to identify individuals, which we know is false. In Parrott's case, the FBI agent testified that the hair on the sheet exhibited all the same microscopic hair characteristics as Parrott's. He claimed he could differentiate hairs from different people in almost every case, giving the jury the impression that the match was scientifically definitive. In 2013, the FBI publicly admitted that microscopic hair analysis, used for decades in thousands of criminal cases, was scientifically flawed. A review found that 26 of 28 FBI agents who testified in trials gave statements that were scientifically incorrect in 90% of the cases studied. They overstated their ability to match hairs and often said that the match proved someone's guilt, which it didn't. George Parrott was convicted in 1992 and has almost spent 30 years in prison. His conviction was based almost entirely on flawed forensic evidence, despite the lack of DNA and a victim description that didn't match Parrott. The jury believed the FBI's expert testimony. In 2013, the FBI admitted their forensic technique methods were invalid. Still, as of the article's latest update, Parrott remained in prison, with Massachusetts officials opposing a retrial. A hearing was scheduled for later that year, but his case is one of many in a larger national effort to correct these wrongful convictions. The exposure of faulty hair analysis has had a huge impact on the criminal justice system. Out of 3,000 cases under review, only 500 have been checked so far. And in 96% of those, false testimony was found. Over 30 people were sentenced to death due to this kind of flawed forensic evidence, and at least 9 were executed before the truth came out. Many states are moving slowly to re-examine old cases. Even though the FBI has admitted responsibly, experts like Chris Fabricant from the Innocence Project are urging states to take responsibility for the faulty techniques their crime labs used, especially since there were so many trained by the FBI. Now, the Perry case shows how a single piece of bad forensic science can ruin lives, and how careful courts must be when dealing with expert testimony that sounds scientific but isn't based on solid evidence.